Your financial needs aren't independent of each other, so your financial advisors shouldn't be either. At Mercantile Bank, our experienced United Wealth professionals are united to serve you and your complete financial planning and wealth management needs. Are you just starting your investment journey or need to roll over a retirement plan? Do you need to plan for a loved one with special needs or for your own life after work? Maybe your business needs a succession plan or you want to enhance your employee benefit programs. Whatever steps you need to take, our United Wealth experts are ready to take them with you. Together, we are united.
And now it's time for Minutes with the Mayor, brought to you by Mercantile Bank. Thank you, Mercantile, and thank you, Mayor Linda Moore, for joining me yet again. Welcome home.
Thank you. It's good to be home.
Good.
No place like home, that's for sure.
That's true, but you were at a close second, which is our sister city in Germany.
Correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Sure.
Okay.
So this was an official visit to Herford, Germany. We visited 4 mayors while we were over there. We saw 2 manufacturing companies, and Germany is so far ahead of us in technology and automation. It was pretty cool to see what they can do with just machinery.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we met with the president of the county, who is the highest ranking official within the county.
Okay.
And he has been very supportive of the Sister City program for 20 years. So he told me a lot about the history of his expertise and his visits back and forth. So that was fun. There wasn't a lot of time for fun, so to speak.
You're just learning.
But yet everything we did while we were there was a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest takeaway I had is they have the same issues we have. Potholes, abandoned buildings, and tall grass.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't have any better answers than we do. But it was kind of fun to hear that they suffer from some of the same things.
Even with all the technology and being ahead of us in certain areas, they still deal with the same, I'll call them minuscule, you know, in the grand scheme of things, some of them. But people do like to harp on it. Another thing that multiple people were harping on is this is the best use of funds. You paid for your own trip.
Exactly.
Okay, I want to throw that out there. Because
Absolutely.
I was so tired of seeing that comment over and over and over again. I was like, she paid for her own trip.
Yeah. And I mean, this was an official visit.
Yeah.
So should the city have paid for it?
Sure.
Maybe. I just knew
that
you
knew better.
Wouldn't fly.
Yes,
yeah.
100%.
You know, I wish we would get to that point.
Yeah.
You know, because I want our aldermen to go.
It would be cool to send
I think
other
our
people.
aldermen could learn a lot. You know, I think I have it hard because I have to work with 14 aldermen. Well, their city council is 42 to 45 people.
Holy smokes.
And
Covering how many?
6 different parties. And so getting a majority and getting them to work together is a huge challenge.
Yeah.
So I think I'm pretty happy with the 14 guys I've got.
Yeah, so you learned it could be worse, right?
That's
or
right.
better, I guess, you know, depending on your perspective. But
the other thing that was really cool, they value history.
Yeah.
And they really value a person's ancestry and where they came from. And I was always raised, you know, never forget where you came from.
Sure.
So to walk some of the streets and to see some of the names that are the names of some of our families here was very cool. Their archives, their county archives are amazing. We saw things from like the 13th and 14th century, you know, and documentation of people when they wanted to move, you know, to the U.S. That was just pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And that was your first visit?
That was my first visit to Hereford.
Okay.
I've been to Munich several times.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list. I would love to go.
So you would enjoy it.
I'm sure I would.
Good beer, good wine.
Yeah, I was stalking all your pictures. I was like, that looks so cool. So again, welcome home. And when you came home, you were welcomed with some good, some not so good. But let's start with the good. Okay, so while you were gone, something happened with I don't know all my widgets and whatnot, but it was like a joint on a water pump, right?
Correct.
Rusted and busted and boom, there goes the whole system, right?
Exactly, and it happened at a time when the tanks were at their lowest, which meant we were scrambling to even keep the water system going.
Sure.
But we were able to do that. The first thing we did, within 45 minutes, we went on the air and said, we have a challenge. We need your help.
Right.
Here's what's happening, and here's how you can help. So many people jumped in to help us conserve water so that we could get our reserve up from 9 million gallons to 12 million gallons.
Yeah.
And it made a big difference. You know, we did have a boil order for a certain section of town, but only one small section.
Right.
So for the most part, there were no interruptions to service.
Yeah.
Having a communication specialist on board now really helped, because then every day, morning, noon, and night, we were putting updates out so people knew where we were
Yeah.
with the situation.
Absolutely.
And I think people got a firsthand account of this is why it's important for the city to tell our story and to be in charge of our own messaging rather than letting keyboard warriors
Yep.
dictate the narrative.
Absolutely. So when I say good, of course, the situation was not good. I mean,
No.
we knew that there was an issue, but the good that came out of it was, of course, the communication. I saw Jeffrey come on and he was giving firsthand accounts. Of course, the engagement, the involvement from the community, like you said, to step up and help. But I think it stems from there was an issue, then there was a plan of action, and a big part of that plan of action was communication. And we've said it this whole time that that's half the battle.
Exactly.
And it stopped people from creating their own narrative. It also gave people an inside look to how they tackle issues like this, what we're doing, what's the solution, right? Solutions based rather than problem focused. So again, issue, not so great. The response, fantastic. And then the solution was like,
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and that's how we should be addressing every challenge
Absolutely.
we have, and we have plenty of them. You know, it's important though to know when we can share information and when legally we can't share information. And not everybody understands that.
Right.
We get a lot of cries for, well, we want total transparency. We want to know everything. Well, you know what? You shouldn't know everything.
Yeah.
Because it's this thing called right to privacy.
sure. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So let's roll into the not so good. So the good was the response and kind of a learning experience, and the way I think the public perceived the reaction, the response to it, I think was overall good. The library situation that I believe you came home to, that happened while you were gone, and we're talking about the executive director of the Quincy Public Library is now on administrative leave.
Correct.
Okay. Because speaking from a taxpayer's point of view, it is hard to swallow that we don't get to know the information. Also
Right.
coming from someone who's nosy, all right? So I'm going to be full disclosure
yeah.
there, right? I think people want to know what's going on, A, because we're nosy, and B, because I think a lot of us think that we deserve some information because it is she does get paid by our tax money, right? So walk me through kind of as much as you can, and when we'll know more, if you can.
Okay, sure. Well, first of all, the library has its own board.
Okay.
So while the city council determines funding for the library from our city general fund, the library board oversees all day-to-day operations and makes all decisions. So the city and the city council really have nothing to do with a personnel issue.
Okay.
And this is a personnel issue. It appears it is a conflict between the board and the executive director,
Okay.
and they need to work through that.
Sure.
Once they work through that, I think we'll all know more.
Okay.
The other thing I will say is for anybody who works with a nonprofit organization or on a nonprofit board, there's always some conflicts between
100%.
an executive director or a president and a board. That's pretty typical. Many times it's real simple, they can work through it. Next, nobody even knows there was a conflict. Sometimes it's a little bit bigger for one reason or another, and it seems like I call it the 7-year itch. I've been on a lot of boards where at about that 7-year mark, something little might happen, but it seems a lot bigger.
Okay.
And I think it's just that 7-year point on a lot of boards, you start thinking about other directions.
Okay.
You know, and even as an executive director, you start thinking about other things. And that's where it's sometimes very difficult to keep everybody on the same page.
Sure.
And if they're not, then sometimes the answer is maybe we need a parting of the ways.
Okay.
It's nobody's fault.
Gotcha. So it could just be a simple, we don't agree with the direction you're taking this, or
Right.
vice versa.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know, we have, you know, a really good people on the board. We have a really good person as the executive director, and I think that's where we all just need to stop exercising by jumping to conclusions.
Sure.
Let them work it out, and then we'll know about it.
Yeah, we will know about it
so,
eventually.
yeah.
Okay. So then,
I would say probably within the next 30 days.
gotcha. And then, so maybe I want to make sure that I read this right, but were there 3 new board members appointed to the library board?
Yes.
Okay. Does that have
and
anything to do, no
No,
correlation?
no correlation.
Okay.
In fact, I received that information that these were the appointments they wanted about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
It should have been on the agenda before I ever left for my trip.
Yeah.
My bad, and I forgot. So
Okay, no correlation.
Yeah, no correlation.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that I
whatsoever.
wasn't digging some
Yeah,
juice
no,
there. Okay,
no.
so
Yeah.
we will know, and as you said, of course, we want to know because that's just human nature.
Yeah.
It's interesting that sometimes we like to make mountains out of molehills, but it's easier to do without the transparency, as we said, right? So everybody's out here
absolutely.
creating our own juicy story,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah.
it'll be really
and I've
interesting.
heard some doozies, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you obviously don't know these
Right.
people. Yeah.
Yes. And I, again, you know, I want to mention that she has had a lot of support.
Absolutely.
So we don't want to jump to any conclusions, and hopefully we'll know. Okay, so let's put that one to rest for now. The other good, so we're sandwiching here a little bit, right? Pothole progress. Okay.
Yes.
So go ahead. You
Yeah.
give me the scoop.
We are making great strides. We're not at 100%
Okay.
on the potholes. If I had to guess, I'd say we're probably about 80 to 85%.
Pretty good.
And we've got a crew that's continuing to make progress. I continue to get phone calls every day. Hey, there's a big pothole here, or there's a pothole there.
Mm-hmm.
And as the crew gets to that section of the grid, they're filling them in.
Right.
Some of the streets are a challenge because they're not city streets. For instance, Broadway.
Yeah.
Oh yes, we know there are some bad
Yeah, we just
potholes
talked to Steve
on
about that
Broadway.
last week, yeah.
And Broadway's going to be resurfaced next year. It's a state road. Ideally, we don't want to spend city resources taking care of a state road. We want the state to do it.
Absolutely.
But they aren't going to necessarily move at the same pace that we do. So it may take us a little longer to get them, but a couple of the worst ones we went ahead and patched.
Sure.
Because it was like, you know what, let's just do
Get
it.
it out of the
This
way.
patching will last a year, and then they're going to resurface it, so it's okay.
Yeah.
So we're making great strides with the pothole program. We aren't yet to the 100 days, you know, the commitment that I made,
Yeah.
100% in 100 days. We
Think we're going to make it?
We may not make it,
Okay.
and here's why. We have some other public safety issues that I think are even bigger than the potholes.
Okay.
Namely, the trees and the tree branches hanging down in intersections and blocking street signs.
Gotcha.
We need to address these trees.
And it's the
So-
same, is it the same department within the city that's
Correct.
taking care of these?
Yes,
Okay.
it's all central services.
Okay.
So we are putting together the plan right now to address the trees.
Okay.
We have, I think, about 400 trees on our list that either need to be trimmed or cut down, or there's some problem with them.
Mm-hmm.
We know once we roll out the plan next week, we're going to get phone calls, and that 400 is going to become 800.
100%, yeah. Yeah.
So, and we have 2 people in the city who are qualified to cut down the big trees. So there's no way the city can do it on our own. We're probably going to be putting out some bids to get help on some of the bigger trees, where we'll have a contractor cut them down, and our crews will go and pick up the debris and
Will
dispose
those
of it.
be local companies when you reach out for bids?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, they will. And so I really need to shift the focus to
To the bigger rock.
the bigger
or the
rock.
bigger tree, if you will.
The bigger
Yeah,
tree.
yeah.
Exactly. So does that mean we might not achieve my campaign promise? Yes, it does. Am I prepared for that? Yes, because I think there's something bigger
Yeah.
and more important.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep going on the potholes. You know, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep addressing them with the one crew. We just may not have 4 crews on any given day.
Sure.
It may be just one.
Yeah.
And I think as a mayor, I have to manage the city resources to the best I can.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of issues out there. some people would say, well, your biggest problem is nuisance abatement and abandoned properties. They're probably right.
Yeah.
We're also looking at, okay, how do we address those nuisance properties? We take our first case to court next week.
Okay.
So we're very excited about that because this is a new element of enforcement
Yeah.
that we're adding to the nuisance abatement process. If that goes well, we're going to keep taking more and more. Once the word gets out, some of these bad actors
Yeah.
are going to figure out, oh, they're serious. There is a new sheriff
Better
in town.
clean it up.
I better clean it up
Yeah.
before they have to come and do it.
Absolutely.
So,
And I get it, depending on where you're seated, the biggest issue is maybe different.
yeah.
So, yeah.
What, the property next door to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think public safety is first and foremost what we expect you to tackle. So if the trees, if the trees are creating that public safety issue, then of course we need to tackle that. Potholes is a promise that you made, but I think that's, a lot of people were complaining about those. Now,
Exactly.
right? Now,
Oh, absolutely.
if a tree caused an accident, I'm sure a lot more people will be complaining about that. So
Right.
I can respect the need to be flexible and adapt and right. Yeah.
And that's what it's all
Yeah.
about, is adapting.
Absolutely.
We've got to make progress on all these different fronts.
Yeah.
We can't focus only on one.
Sure.
And we've known that all along. But we've made great progress. And from an optics perspective, which you've heard me talk about
Yes,
optics
100%.
a lot, the optics for the last 2 months have been, oh, wow, we see progress on our streets with the potholes.
Yeah.
Are they perfect? No. But I'd rather go over a speed bump than
Yeah.
stuck in a rut.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then you're prepared to take the heat because you know you
Yeah,
will, right?
exactly.
And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just you have the explanation, and as long as you're transparent with your new communication tactics and your strategies, then not tactics, that's a bad word, but strategies, I think the majority of people will understand. So again, transparency and communication is key. But while we're talking about potholes, let's talk real quick about road construction because it is everywhere.
Yes.
Yes. And that's another thing people like to complain about, rightfully so. But
Yes.
it is
The price of progress.
absolutely.
We do have a lot of streets shut down right now because we are fixing the water pipes underneath
Yep.
or replacing the water pipes. We are reconstructing roads. The state is also doing some road work. So you see a lot of closed roads.
Yes.
The only thing we can do is share the map, and we'll be sharing another map of, hey, here's what's coming, be prepared.
Right.
And then you just have to kind of navigate and plan your
Best you can.
route a
Yeah.
little bit better.
And leave a little extra time. I'm not very good at that,
That's
but I'm
right.
learning.
Exactly.
Yeah. And watch for cones. I'm learning that too, which I'm also not very good at it. But yeah. But I think the road construction, we talked about people's biggest complaint. Does it have to be right now, all at the same time? And I use that voice because it gets kind of tiresome. It's kind of played out. I think if you know why these choices are being made, between, of course, you have the element of weather, you have funding, you have you said before, we don't control all of the construction projects.
We have to coordinate with
Yeah.
the state. And so we know what the state's calendar is for, like, Broadway. We have to make sure we're done with what's underground on Broadway before they come in and start.
Sure.
So we had asked them to start at the east end and come west. Well, they said no, it's in their schedule. They're starting west and going east.
Yeah.
So that kind of caused us to react a little bit and change up our schedule.
Sure.
But we have to do what we have to do to get those state dollars because we can't possibly afford to take care of all the roads on our own.
Right, right. And, so you're putting out a map, and that's going to show you where the construction is and about kind of a tentative timeline of when to expect these
Correct.
projects to happen. Because I think between 24th and 30th on Broadway is getting ready to close, so you'll have to make sure that you have an alternate route to your favorite establishments, Kelly's. But, right, so we're putting
Come
it out
in the
there.
alley off of 30th.
That's right. Yes, I think
Yeah.
most people know, but we're going to lovingly dub it Kelly's Boulevard, right? You're going to take that.
Sure.
But just be aware of what's closing, be aware of alternate routes, and be aware that it is the price of progress. People are doing the best they can. Sometimes it takes longer than we hope.
Right.
But
well, the other thing is all of our contractors are short on staff.
yeah,
There's a very finite supply of construction workers. So they sometimes have to move their crews from one project to another project to another project just to try to keep them all moving forward.
Right.
Or if they're renting big equipment, they want to do what they have to do with the big equipment all at the same time.
Sure.
So it just makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, that's how they need to do it most efficiently for them. It might not necessarily work for drivers, but
Yeah.
price
It
of
is.
progress.
Right, it is what it is. So, but overall, going back to the main theme, the communication that was put forth by Central Services, by Jeffrey Conti, is always a good thing when it is the right time, because the public,
Right.
we thrive on communication, on transparency. It stops us from creating our own narrative. I would challenge people to wait a minute, take a breath before you immediately start bashing what the city of Quincy or the personnel is doing. Also, the communication will be there when it's time, in due time. And if it's not, you're prepared to take the heat, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Well, welcome home.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you came home to some good stuff. Of course, there's always something that we can complain about, but again, that's human nature.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Super.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you again coming in and chatting with me. Good luck as you dip your feet back into things
Thank
and
you.
being home. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
It's great to be home, and
Yeah.
I know we're going to have some good things to announce here in the very near future. so
Absolutely. Well, hopefully
that's
you
good
come
too.
here and give us the scoop.
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
See you next Tuesday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Appreciate it. All right, that's been Minute with the Mayor. Thank you to Mercantile Bank. Go there for all your banking needs. They have the best people. It's a great location. Thank you much.